Welcome back to Bad versus Friend. Today I have an interesting episode. I hope it's informative. It's really answering a question for people that have non-U.S. citizen immigration status and what their options are for real estate. I myself, came to the U.S. on a student visa, and I know that over time I've not even thought about real estate just because I didn't know it was an option for me. Obviously, I was also very broke, so it was never a real option. So the first status that I want to cover is really people that have a green card and are lawful permanent residents. Not really much to talk about there. Green card holders have the same, status in terms of, legal status as U.S. citizens. They have access to the same type of loans, which are the Federal Housing Administration loans, FHA loans that are government backed, and any other government backed service, loan service they have access. The other type of status is going to be people that are temporary non-resident aliens. So that would be for anybody that's here on a work visa or any sort of temporary legal status in the U.S. So you can have, there's different levels of work visas. There's different types of visas, obviously not tourist visas, but really here they have access to the same FHA loans that I was talking about, the government-backed loans, and I'll do another video on the different types of FHA loans that are out there and that are available. But just wanted to highlight that they're already available. One thing is they need to provide proof of employment and social security number. This one is a little odd just because I know even as a U.S. citizen, you need to provide proof of employment and social security. But I know the banks will also ask for your actual visa, a copy of your visa, document you have, proving your legal status in the U.S. And they do it not because there's a legal requirement for you to be a U.S. citizen to be able to buy a home. It's more banks are just worried about risk, right? They want to make sure that you're gonna pay the money back and that you're gonna reliably pay the money back essentially. And again, just to de-risk kind of your loan that they're going to give you, they may ask for a work contract or some sort of proof that your work is going to be for at least 3 years. And that makes sense to some extent, but it's not a legal requirement. It's again just for them to be able to assess the risk with an individual. Essentially, if you have a work contract that's like very temporary and very short, there's a likelihood that you lose your job and then you get that you lose your status and you have to leave the U.S. and you may not be able to repay the loan. The biggest challenge really, which is the last point here, is that they definitely ask for credit history, bank statement, tax return. The problem with people are temporary non-resident aliens, and I've been there myself, is the credit history and the tax return. Right? If you come here and you just started here in the U.S., let's say you have a good financial situation, some banks may not want to give you a loan just because you don't have any credit history, you don't have any history of income in the U.S., which is again a way for them to de-risk the loan, or to assess the risk in the loan. And I remember when I faced that situation, they would ask if you don't have a good credit score that you have a cosigner that has a good credit score. But more often than not, at least that was my situation, I didn't really know anybody that could cosign for me that had like a decent credit score that could cosign for me. So this is really the biggest pain point. I know some of the things that I did at the time, you can open a credit card, start using it for your regular expenses, and paying that back, obviously you don't want to sit on that, and slowly building credit. But the biggest thing that really helps people build their credit that I've seen, I'm not saying this is the my expertise and this is the only option, but buying a car, obviously on a loan, and paying that consistently over time is going to build your credit and give you strong credit history, because a smaller loan for a short amount of time, you can pay it back consistently on time, be reliable, but it's such a short amount of time that it's not going to be a good indicator for them that you're also going to behave the same if you have so really here, I don't think there's any significant restriction on the type of loan that you can apply to. And what comes with the credit history that I forgot to mention is going to be also the down payment requirement. Obviously, the lower your down payment, the riskier your profile because of your low credit history, the higher potentially your interest rate is going to be. And the higher your interest rate is, it may make homeownership less attractive just because it's going to cost you a lot more. Another status is going to be refugees and asylum grantees, so people that are here on asylum. Again, not much of a difference. They have access to the same, government-backed services as U.S. citizens. Can actually apply for a green card and pursue homeownership through that status. Obviously, with that green card, they also have, I think, the ability to request for like a work permit, a worker's permit, and they can essentially, seek, a job and, try to get a loan. I don't think really, it sounds like, really the point that I'm trying to make is the big factor is not necessarily your immigration status, it's really your income and your visit to the bank. But, banks want to make money. As long as they feel safe in loaning you money, I think you'll be able to get a loan. Another one that's interesting that, just want to highlight real quick are going to be DACA recipients. Same homeowner benefit. There's a little more restrictions. Obviously, that it has to be the primary residence. They need to have a good credit score. And, there may be some limitation just because, again, of the risk profile that comes with people that have DACA status. But I think this has more to do with the political fragility of that status rather than anything else. And I say political fragility because depending on who's on the White House, DACA status may, come and go. So I'm sure, that adds some risk to their profile, from a bank's point of view. Hopefully, the DACA status is something that's no longer politicized and they find a solution, but that's not really the point of this. And the last point, which I think really helps answer a lot of the different questions, is really you don't even need to live in the U.S. to buy a house in the U.S. There's no requirement for you to be a U.S. citizen, to live in the U.S. Anybody can buy a house, and there's a lot of foreigners that actually buy houses here in the U.S. without actually being here in the U.S. The only challenge is, if you're outside of the U.S. and you want to buy a house in the U.S., typically you'll need to provide a Social Security. If you want a loan, banks will require you, Social Security, credit score, for you to reside in the U.S. to some extent. Different banks may have different requirements. So because of that, people that are like outside of the U.S. typically buy houses cash, which is amazing. Especially, with the prices that we're seeing nowadays. But also, they have the option of finding their own financing options. The point really here is that the U.S. doesn't require you to be American to buy a house. So that really answers, the question for everybody else is, as long as you can afford it, they will accept your money. As long as you got the cash, we will accept it. We do not discriminate when it comes to money. And there's just a little bit of stats there. 39% of homes purchased by foreign nationals in 2020 were paid in cash. Amazing. I wish I was one of them or knew one of them. I don't have those rich friends like that. And 59% of non-resident foreign buyers made all cash home purchases in 2020. So just a little bit of stats. I hope this video was helpful. Really, the conclusion is, your status may affect, maybe what type of loan you can apply to, but as long as you have the money and the math makes sense for you, to buy a house, there's nothing stopping you from actually trying to buy a house. So I hope this was encouraging. I'll make additional videos that could be educational. So give me a thumbs up if you like this one. If not, then at least leave me a comment and tell me why. All right, thank you.